What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my page. As you guys know, I focus primarily on events and products. And so today we have Aaron Ball. This is actually his first time doing an interview like this. So this is actually pretty fun for me. I haven't done too many firsts. So if you wouldn't mind, could you tell people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Aaron, like Alton mentioned. I got a background in Facebook ads. I've been running Facebook ads for probably like the last 5 years. I did a little bit of work for corporate America. Then eventually I stepped into my own entrepreneurial space, and I've been doing it, e-commerce stores and running ads for clients.
Oh, that's good. It's like I'm always promoting entrepreneurship. I started consulting about 10 years ago, and I primarily focused on IT. And then I got into e-com not necessarily e-com specifically, but Facebook marketing and Instagram marketing about 5 or 6 years ago. So we probably jump in around the same time.
Solid. Did you say IT?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my background is in computer science, so that's my undergraduate degree. And then in business school, I got an MBA, but my focus was still IT management. So very heavy on the tech business side.
Cool.
So back to the questions. So how did you get started in like online products and e-commerce? Like how'd you come about that?
Man, so like my background, my degree, my bachelor's degree is in pretty much design and marketing. So I started off kind of like designing. I can paint a little bit, so I was doing a little bit of art here and there. And I think it may have been around, I think it was about 2015. I launched a t-shirt, a Big Cartel t-shirt. Didn't know about Shopify yet, which I'm full-fledged Shopify now. I don't use anything else but that. But I launched a Big Cartel, was doing my own thing, selling my shirts and stuff like that. And then eventually I learned a little bit about print on demand. I started doing some designs, selling like shower curtains. It sounds crazy, but shower curtains was one of my ones that did pretty well early on. And I just like kept on furthering my knowledge through like that space. But I stayed on Big Cartel for probably about maybe a year and a half, almost 2. And then I started learning more about how you can, essentially start drop shipping and stuff like that. But that was my journey, didn't even start with drop shipping. I was literally just selling my art, selling my t-shirts. I found out print on demand can also print on canvases, and I was just selling, whatever pretty much I had a demand for with my audience.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Like, I have a few family members that are, moving into that whole fashion space. One's doing pretty well. His brand is called House of Orange. So he's had a lot of celebrities wear his brand, and it's small, based out here out of LA. And I was actually just talking to him yesterday because in business school we studied a bunch of case studies on how some brands were able to take off. And one I was telling them how you can build a street team for your brand without losing your quality, because a lot of people get afraid if I have someone else selling it for me, I'm going to lose my quality. But if you look at kind of what Supreme did, they had a limited release of these things, and then if you were you were early in Supreme, you had to sell something for a certain price. You bought it from Supreme for whatever the price was, but they told you couldn't sell it for less than this. And that's a good way to really keep it exclusive, but still get a street team to grow your brand for you. So did you ever do anything like that?
No, the biggest thing I did is I stepped into influencers. I actually so let me backtrack a little bit. Whenever I first really stepped into the Instagram space, I was in between really trying to find who my audience was going to be. I was learning a lot about Facebook ads and stuff like that. And I was working with I would do different consultations and stuff with influencers. But then eventually what I did, and this is actually how I grew my page pretty large, is I had a thing. I would always joke on social media. I started doing skits and videos. I built up that audience, and that's actually what I ended up using to, really push my shirts and stuff. And then instead of going the street term approach, I was the street, bringing out a street brand team or whatever, I was real big on connecting with other influencers. So that's all I started doing. I just connected with a bunch of influencers, and then I built it out to where I was able to start getting consistent orders, but it was off the strength. And a lot of times when people hear influencers now, they think about just 100,000 massive pages, but I'm talking about I was also working with just smaller pages. They could have been micro influencers in their own area, and that pretty much that was my like street team, because it was more so of a thing as like, you know, he can do he can paint t-shirts, you know, what do you want? I was big on the customization, and then that's how I grew it out, like on my big cartel.
Yeah, and that's definitely like a lesson for anybody who watches this. Like, there's so many ways to get this thing going, and like an influencer track is definitely a great way to get your brand out there, especially if you approach it as this is going to be mutually beneficial, right? Like,
Right,
you're helping them with their audience, they're helping you with your audience, and then you're providing a product and a service to the people that are going to be looking for something. So, and it's
right,
custom.
right.
So,
100%. One thing I'm gonna add on that too, because I think it'll be some good value for the listeners, is whenever I first jumped into the influencer game, I was still learning. I was pretty much, unfortunately, I didn't like how much Facebook ad knowledge I got after my degree. So I really started learning about Facebook ads when I just started experimenting myself, finding other people in the industry like, hey, you know, can I buy your consultations, whatever the case may be. And I actually didn't even have which this is big, I didn't have a pixel on my store at first. And you know, so like the biggest thing is to be able to, because most of the time, you know, when you work with these influencers, that traffic may not buy or into your products immediately, but they may come check you out. Then you got that pixel on there, you hit them with them retargeting ads, and you end up converting way more of that traffic from the influencers. That was like a big lesson that I learned early on.
yeah, that's a huge lesson. You'd be surprised. Like, I do a little bit of like social media consulting as well, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd say about 60% of the brands that I work with didn't have a pixel on their website, but they were running ads, and they'd be spending like 10 grand and 15 grand a month on ads. And I'm like, you are pouring money down the drain. Like, like,
Right, right.
structure your campaign in a way where a lot of experts will tell you that reach ads, like, they don't matter, but they do, right? You run a
Mm-hmm.
reach campaign just to get as many people seeing you as much as possible. Then you go
Mm-hmm.
a step below that, you do a landing page campaign, and then a step below that to do conversions, and then retargeting after that. And then you have
Mm-hmm.
all these campaigns set up individually, so that way when people come in, they're just targeted, and it's all automated at that point. It's just the one-time setup.
Right. 100%.
Um, Speaking of your first product, what you were talking about was the shower curtains.
Yeah. So the first, you want to go into the drop shipping route, or were you?
Before we get there, I just wanted to know, what do you think made it so successful, like the shower curtains?
So the shower curtains, I started off, I was trying to go about printing my own designs on them. And then I ended up, you know, I got on AliExpress. I ended up finding different designs that matched with like kind of, I was going like at the time, I think what I'm trying to think what my first hit design was. At the time, I was kind of going like a more pro black culture type, you know, Afrocentric type of design stuff. And I actually came across a pretty dope collection that was on AliExpress. So I was like, you know what, that was my introduction to want to try that. So what I started to do is the same connection of influencers I already had. Some were, you know, the Afrocentric women, some were the like different influencer pages. I started there just running shout outs. Like, you know, I was doing different things. You can get a t-shirt. I was always big on the offer. So like I had the shower curtains and I had that going with different bundles, and it just started to pick up and gain more and more traction. And then eventually I experimented my way into lookalike audiences, and then I really started just honing in on everything. But the first product that kind of hit was that shower curtain. Because I mean I had my you know, my own orders that I was doing and stuff, and you know, I was networking with t-shirts, but actually stepping into a space where I started getting a lot of orders from kind of all over the world type of thing
Yeah.
was that first drop shipping product, which was the curtain.
Okay. So, follow up question to that: what would you say has been your biggest failure so far?
Mm, that's a so I tell you why kind of that's kind of a tough question for me to really answer, because like I'm so I'm really a lot of this stuff. I'm so committed to the process. Like even if it was a failure, I was more so always looking at like, you know, what did I learn? What went wrong? What kind of, because for example, I would consider me spending the money to do the shout outs and not having a pixel, like that was a big failure in its own, situation. But I know that there were many of those. So my biggest thing was like, I just always made sure I was feeling forward. And I kind of got a deal where I think we should always be feeling on something that lets us know we're pushing, to the limit. So I can't really pinpoint like the biggest, but I really say like, just keep fell forward. Keep doing new things.
Like I usually ask that question because it's a tough question, and then also because I actually know mine. Like I know my biggest failure. So my biggest failure was not following the money. Right, it's just more ego and pride. So I started a company called VersaFit years ago in business school. And my partner and I, we had this idea to build this huge $1 billion tech company for sports and fitness. And we were making a lot of progress, and we are being featured on all these huge websites, and we are getting interviewed all the time, and we are getting all these influencers reaching out to us and wanting to work with us. But we kind of missed the huge glaring thing where the money was at. So the money was in events, and the money was in promotional material. So we had all these huge brands that wanted us to do like commercials for them, and then we had all these gyms that needed promotion, like actually us go to their gym, throw a big party at their gym, and then have people come. And then when we were doing our own events, we had tons of people coming out to pay to be at our events. But we are so focused on the app itself because the app is the $1 billion idea that we glossed over the things that were making us money, and it ended up being a huge failure for us because we invested so much money into the app, and then we end up having to shelf it. We might still bring it back. We actually just talked to someone who's actually interested in potentially purchasing the software from us. So that might come back, but that was a huge failure for us, was just not following the money.
Right. Yeah, I definitely that makes sense for sure. I've got a similar situation where I can kind of touch base on where like whenever it's crazy. My mindset has changed drastically from when I first started running ads, experimenting with the platform, and then just, the last 3 years of really just locking in, being successful with it. Like I used to think, are you any familiar with Facebook ads to a certain extent? Okay. So how like essentially when you're scaling, when you're going into scale a campaign, it's expected for that ROAS to start to decrease some. That's just a part of scaling. But as long as you have good margins to begin with, you're going to be good scaling. So one issue, like when you mentioned, to your point, saying like kind of leaving where the money is and not really just doing more of what was already working, as I used to because I was kind of just running the ads off of like, experimenting with stuff. I used to get stuff working well, and then my mindset not understanding that I am investing in this data to be able to use it to target these customers and build out more and more and more. I would stop. And sometimes me and my wife would talk about like, back in the day when I used to be doing stuff with ads, I could have scaled it way higher than what I really was doing. I just was like, I was uncomfortable. Like, well, hey, it's making money right here. Let me just not touch nothing, and then just kind of keep letting it do its thing, when really I should have been going all in on what clearly was working. And I would have, I would have been, where I'm at now faster.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if you know this, but a little secret to Facebook's algorithm is that it optimizes it for exactly what you tell it to do. So the best way to scale a campaign without losing your return on ad spend is to, if it's working, say you start an ad, you're running it $20 a day, it's really converting, don't add more money to that ad. Make a copy of that ad and then add more money to the copy. That way you never break what's already working, what Facebook has already optimized for you. Because you could add more money to an ad and all of a sudden it sucks. So you make that one little tweak to the copy of the ad, and then all of a sudden, okay, that's working, or it stops working. Then you know to kill it. But that way you never break what's already working.
For sure. Yeah, we do a ton of that in the agency for sure. But like I find most of the time when I talk to people, whether it's like a student I'm working with or somebody that's like wanting to join the agency, sometimes they have those fears of not really wanting to spend more money on the platform. Because even when we just refer to it, what you just described, we refer to it as just scaling horizontally. We're not really playing with the budget, so to speak, of increasing what's already working. We're just duping into more and more scaling, spreading it out. And that was like something that I just did not want to do. Like when I go back into, 20, about 4 or 5 years ago type of thing. So that was, I would consider that like a big not really a failure, but it was definitely a setback by me not really just actually locking in on the platform because the tool Facebook ads is crazy.
Yeah, you can if you don't do things right, you can lose a lot of money on Facebook.
Facts.
So let's make the transition now into more e-commerce, more drop shipping. So
Okay.
as of current today, what would you say would be a good place to move in for someone who wants to get into drop shipping, and like what product would you recommend them selling?
So the first thing I like to tell people to start is first just identify, first understand whenever you're looking for products, understand kind of what makes something be a good product to sell. And the key things that I like to point out is like, does the product solve a problem? Or does it have any wow factor? Like by the wow factor, I mean like some uniqueness, like not easily found in like Walmart or Target. And then my other go-to, which would be like, the seasonal, if we're in season of something. And then of course I like to have about like a $20 margin. I don't like to go any lower than having about a $20 profit margin, including the shipping and everything.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I tell people to start. And then from there, I say, okay, now step out of that and ask yourself, are there any things that like you have a hobby in, or that like you got like your hobbies or anything that you like, and then go into that space with your likings, with your hobby, and look for things that meet those criteria. And most of the time that kind of simplifies people's product research because they now have like, all right, I need to be looking. If this product doesn't solve a problem, then I exit. And now there is one other lane that I like to say look into is like evergreen products, because
Yeah.
problem solving products are the easiest for a beginner because you can identify the angle. Like, okay, it solves this problem, so that helps with their angle and that helps you establish how you're going to market it. But the evergreen products, I like to step into that as well because it's something that you can sell year round. Or it could be an evergreen product, but it's like evergreen seasonal. For example, like hunting boots is a product that does real good if you know somebody, like, or I mean, if you're pretty familiar with like the hunting seasons and the time
Yeah.
frames where people really wear them, then like that's an evergreen product, but it's also during its duration or whatever.
Okay. That's really good advice. I think I told you I'm moving back into products. I moved out
Mm-hmm.
of products years ago to more like focus on my startup and focus on events. And I
Right.
was looking around, and I think I found a niche that I want to get into. I'm just kind of
Mm-hmm.
doing some more investigation just to make sure like I can actually run ads for it, because I think I'm gonna move into like at home like brewing kits, like make your own beer
Okay.
at home, and then like kegs and kegerators and like that market, because the market is growing, especially with bars being closed. But it's tough
Mhm.
because I don't know all the regulations.
For the alcohol policies
Yeah,
on, yeah.
so I'm working on that and figuring it out, and hopefully by the end of next week I'll have like my new drop shipping store launched. Mostly because I only need to sell one item a day to be profitable, because they're so
Right.
expensive, right? The cheapest
Right.
is like $700.
Right.
So I'm looking at like high ticket drop shipping from the states, and then just to seeing how that works out for me.
Solid, solid. From a price standpoint, I typically like to stay around like the mid ticket. I haven't really gone past anything like selling a product. The max is like 129.99 type of thing.
Yeah,
And I like to be around about 59.99 to 99.99. That's really my sweet spot for products. And every now and then, if it's a product that's just like maybe it has that wow factor, or maybe it's seasonal. For example, I'll throw a little gem out there. Kind of, we're coming up on Halloween. Like you may come across like a Halloween mask that you can really be selling for like a 29.99. But since that's low ticket, I like to turn it into what I call just basically an irresistible offer and
yeah,
bundle it with something to increase that average order value and make you have the better margins.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely a good when you're looking for like high consumer goods.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put this information on this video, but I'll definitely tell you about it offline. The reason why I do high ticket drop shipping is because it
Mm-hmm.
takes the exact same amount of effort to sell something for $1,000 as it does to sell something for $60, and it's actually
100%.
cheaper to advertise for the one that's 1,000 if you know where to advertise, and then you spend
Mm-hmm.
you know $50 a day, but one sale is going to run you $1,000 or $1,500.
Right, right.
I'll tell you more about that offline, because it's a whole different conversation. Uh,
For sure.
so yeah, so my next question would be to tell me a little bit more about how you started your agency and like who's your typical client, who's your ideal client, and what are you looking to do with your agency over the next couple of years?
Yeah, so pretty much it started like I kind of had some points where I jumped into it, pulled back, jumped into it, and then just stayed full fledged. But basically, I was running ads for people more from like a freelancer approach without a team, like since 2016. After really, yeah, since about 2016, I started getting some good results. I had some lead gen clients. I was just doing a lot, and I started to like, okay, I'm gonna just start to do this regularly, and that's where it really started it. But then when I really started to scale and niche down into the e-commerce space, that was about 2018. And then I identify like, okay, my ideal customer is really, because, there's so much you can get into. I do still work with this, some lead gen clients just because we have a great relationship and I help their business and everything. And my team has, but the ideal customer that we work with now is like, you either can be a drop shipper or private label brand, or I still kind of have that network of influencers. And most of the time they may be selling a lot of different things. Like, for example, I've got an influencer that sells like their workout. It's a digital product, workout classes. She's a fitness trainer, so it's still focused around products and like online transactions pretty much from the e-commerce space. And like I mentioned earlier, it's all going to be like Shopify. I'm pretty much pro Shopify.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, I hated Shopify. I got into Shopify pretty early, and it was just driving me nuts, man. Like, even though I'm a tech person, I'm not really big on like web development, and
Mhm.
I'm more of a back end person. Like, you could put me like in the analytics, you put me in the SQL databases, you put me in there, I'm good. You telling me you
Mhm.
want things to look pretty, and it's like I don't know what to do with this. I'm building this web page. I don't know what to do with this, but it'll
Yeah.
function, right? Everything else will be great. So it's funny that I'm actually coming full circle and I'm having to get back into Shopify.
Yeah, man, I think they really make it real easy, man. I really like how like it's pretty user friendly. And like at this point in my process, I definitely like just simplicity and things to be simple. Cause like my last corporate job that I did work before I really just became completely full-time entrepreneur and everything, my position was called like a what was it? It was like a webmaster slash email marketer. I did both. And throughout that process, I probably worked on I maintained about like 800 different websites, but it was like from like the WordPress deal, and it's way more complex. And like, I don't like the content management of it for something as simple of like just trying to sell a product at the end of the day,
Yeah,
and that's why I like Shopify, because it's, you can build a website in 24 hours and be up and running if you really want to.
yeah. See, that's crazy because I like WordPress. maybe, maybe
I, I see where you coming from though with it, because I don't have as much. I do got a little bit of the tech background in the IT
yeah,
space, and I definitely know 100% from the like how much you can customize it is,
yeah,
we're gonna go WordPress all day long, but just if your intention is just to sell a product, like
yeah.
I don't think that it's really, necessary.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to get back into like a better mind state, right? Simple is better, right? Everything
Hmm.
needs to be simplified, and I have a really hard time with doing that. My best friend tells me that all the time. He's like, "Bro, like you overcomplicate everything, and you assume people know what you know, and they don't." And so I'll talk at this level, and he's like, "Bring it down here," and I'm like, "Oh shit, yeah, you're right." And I have to have people constantly remind me of that because I'm a tech geek, right? So you got to be like
Hmm.
honed in on like this is what people need to know, and so when it comes to this whole like drop shipping and like e-commerce stuff, like I'm new from this side as a seller. Like I said, I
Hmm.
work with other brands. Like I one of the brands I worked with recently, I won't mention them in the chat, but I helped them basically cut their sales, cut their ad spend down from 13,000 to 5,000, and then I doubled their sales on less
Nice.
ad, and they were like extremely impressed by this. But to me, I'm like, oh, this is just simple. Like you have all these places where you're leaking, and then you just need to tweak these ads this way, and these ads aren't working. Why are you still running them? Like if you're selling a product that's $20, but it's costing you $18 a conversion, that is a waste of
Right.
shit. Like why are you doing that? And so
Hmm.
that's kind of more of my strength. And I'm in this space where I need to pick up more clients just because the thought of having a regular job is like so depressing for me. So I'm like
Right.
I need lead gen, and I prefer events and I prefer products, and so that's kind of where
Okay.
I'm actually like gearing up to go back into while I'm working on a couple things on the side. So
Solid. Solid.
enough on a tangent of me. There's one thing I actually just found out about. Well, not just found out. I'm just starting to get into. I found out about it
Hmm.
in January. But have you heard about Walmart's e-commerce platform?
I haven't. Mm-mm.
So that's fairly new. They have about 50,000 people on the platform compared to Amazon, which has millions. So
Hmm.
it's evergreen, it's blue ocean. I like to do these little things right here where I'm dropping like something that such a small audience is going to see that they can actually make a lot
Hmm.
of money with. So the way it works is you create a merchant account on Walmart, same way you would on Amazon, and
Okay.
drop ship. Walmart allows drop shipping. So
Hmm.
all you do is you go and you look up all the hottest trending products that are selling, and then you list them on your Walmart store. They don't charge you for ads; they run the ads for you because they want you to be successful because they're trying to compete with Amazon. And so right
Hmm.
now you got, I think they're bringing in like 1,000 new people a month, and a lot of these people are highly skilled marketers, and they're killing it. So the guy that I talked to, he's actually making $300,000 a month in sales on Walmart with a 30% profit margin, and
Hmm.
he's drop shipping the same thing, right? It's just he figured out a way to get in early before anyone else was really there. It's only 50,000 sellers, and he's only
Right.
selling like products that are trending that are high searchable products. And
Hmm.
so something you might want to definitely look into. I'm actually going to create my store probably at the end of this week. I just got to do the research and find out what products are like really trending that I can drop ship through Walmart.
Right. Right. Now that's interesting though, because I've got a few buddies that they don't drop ship off Shopify, they drop ship off eBay, and some of like the products that they would get, I never really knew their resources and stuff because I wasn't never really interested in going down that path. But I know they would actually get their products from Walmart to drop ship on eBay, but I think it was before they rolled out their own merchant
Yeah,
account. So I definitely think that's going to be something interesting.
yeah. I mean, I see it taking off over the next like 12 to 18 months. I mean, it's already taken off right now with like a
Hmm.
small group of people that are really skilled marketers and they know, okay,
Hmm.
these products are trending. Let me put these on my store. And if you get in, just imagine being in Amazon 8 years ago, right?
Hmm.
1,000 reviews, you're going to sell more products than someone who has 100 reviews. And so you get in early,
Fact.
you're building up your reviews. Like your store is only going to grow over time.
Right. Right.
Having any inventory.
Right. The beauty of drop shipping, man. No inventory.
It's a beautiful thing. I was the other way around. Like I had a huge amount on my Amazon store. I had a
Hmm.
huge amount of inventory, and I was moving about $2,000 worth of product a week. But Amazon
Hmm.
was killing me in storage fees. They were charging me anywhere
Hmm.
between 1,000 and 1,500 a week to store it. I'm like, this is just insane. Like it's not working out. And so I ended up closing down that store in January of this year, just
Mm.
because just wasn't profitable because it was so much money in storage fees. And if I did
Right.
this
Right.
over again, like I would rent out a storage facility here and then only send them like 200 at a time instead of just saying here's 2,000 of these items, like sell through it.
Right, right. Yeah. Whenever we scale to like, the high volumes and we find winners and we lock in and making sure all our systems are right, usually our go-to is I mean, I have the connections now, but it's not really hard for you to go out there and do the research to find like an agent. Because they help a lot. They essentially would be your middleman to making sure you can get the fastest shipping possible coming from China. And then not only that, whenever you're really doing consistent orders a day, they help you out being able to buy in bulk. They hold your inventory. You get the cost down, so your margins are increasing even more. So you can really just focus on scaling and not really have to deal with the hassle of just constantly figuring out what's really going on with your inventory.
Yeah, that's definitely like good help. Like, cause I had I forgot what company I used to ship everything here, and then to also ship it to me, and then I did everything else. I marked every item myself, and then sent it off to Amazon.
Mm,
But now I know
mm,
if I would do that again, I would just like hire a middleman company to like take care of all that, so I never
yep.
have to see the inventory.
Yep, 100%.
All right. So, any last tips that you have for the viewers?
Uh, any particular topic you thinking we wanna dive in
Um,
for some quick little last tips?
I would say so. Most of the people in my group and that watch my page tend to be beginners, and
Okay.
the few people that aren't beginners are all people that are my peers. And so, if you can either hit like a really high level tip for those guys, or just like a small tip that'll help someone who's like afraid, right? A lot of the people in the group are afraid to spend money or afraid to do something, even if it's working, right? They get scared, like, oh, I'm spending $20 a day, like I'm nervous now. So just like
Mhm.
any type of tip that can help one of those groups.
I would say to, especially if they're just getting started with running ads, I would say there's so many different strategies out there. There's so many different ways where people talk about testing. And a lot of times, if people are really just locking in on YouTube, they're probably trying to learn all these different strategies. I would say, whatever you do, whatever person you're learning from, go their route, make sure you validate it and see like they actually create X results or whatever, and just lock in on one testing strategy. Find one that's more efficient, because there are a lot of aggressive testing strategies. Like, I like to still, even to this day, I like to still test efficient. So I recommend people getting started, like, find something that's efficient, $5 a day, not starting off with 15 ad sets. Start off with, 3 to 4 to 5 ad sets, and then understand how to actually make sure you understand how to actually measure your KPIs, so you know what the data is telling you and you're not overspending. Because a lot of times with like my students, the biggest problem from the very beginning is that they just overspend and they don't even know when to turn off an ad set. So that's a big thing to just first, before you even get started, make sure you learn how to test and make sure you learn how to know what the data is telling you, and don't just go into it with the mindset of thinking like Facebook or whatever advertising platform you're using is supposed to just make me a bunch of money. And sometimes that's the mindset I know people just getting started will have.
Yeah, it's always one way or the other. It's like they either overspend or they underspend, and they have
Right,
no idea when to kill an ad or when to put more money behind an ad.
right,
That's really good
fact.
information. So, so the next piece. So we actually just wrapping it up right now. I just saw my last question. so, so yeah. So tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at just Aaron Ball 30. That's two A's, the Key and Peele, the AAA Ryan. So Aaron Ball 30. And then I'm also on Twitter, Aaron Ball 30 as well. And then I'm on Facebook as well. Just I got the Facebook business page or whatever. It's just Aaron Ball. So I'm on all those three. I post most on Instagram. I drop all kinds of valuable information about Facebook ads, e-commerce, and just marketing in general and the process of entrepreneurship. So I definitely think it can, help somebody if you guys want to come check my page out.
Yeah, definitely, guys, go check him out. That's actually how I found him. I saw one of his ads, and I read a lot of ads, and I read it, and it was like, oh, well, this is actually really solid content. So he definitely knows what he's talking about. So go ahead and follow him, and if you need some help with your business and you're doing e-commerce or online products, definitely reach out to him. So
For sure.
everybody,
Appreciate it.
all right, guys, take care. Peace.
All right. Have a good one.